let's go to Mr. Tigay. Joe of Equity Armor Investments. Good to see you, Joe. So let's talk some Tesla. What do you think? Is it just another offshoot of a speculative fervor that's hit this market, or is Tesla the real deal?
I think Tesla's the real deal. You mentioned Nikola just a second ago. They're a $30 billion company. They haven't even produced a single truck. Right. By the way, Tesla has a truck coming out, increasing production on. So certainly if there's some froth, maybe it should go to a company that's actually making cars right now. But having that said, I think Sarah laid the bull case out tremendously based on that upgrade out of Wedbush. And as he said, there is room to run. I'm thinking there's a trade that I would like to put on if there is the room to run. Given the fact that it's $1,000, given the fact that it's a super high multiple, it's risky to just go out there and buy the stock. Of course, you can get out there using options, take a little bit less risk, but still participate to the upside if there is that upside melt up.
So how do you do that? I mean, the options, don't you still have to pay through the nose to get exposure to this thing? I mean, now it's $1,000 too, so it's just nominally expensive.
Yeah, and just the at-the-money options are super expensive. I had to get a little creative in order to develop a strategy where I had to put on a little bit less to get in the game. I'm looking at the October 1,000 call. That gives me plenty of time up through October for the Tesla to appreciate. We'll get to see how's COVID doing through then. But I'm going to go ahead and sell a Jan call. So I'm going to sell an upside Jan 1,300 call. I'm going to buy the October 1,000 call. Actually, the price this morning was about $25 right at 8:30. I looked at right before we were going on, it was up to $45. So the market is certainly bidding up those October options as we speak, talking about prices. So a lot of premium in there. That said, even if it's $45, it's a lot cheaper than, of course, paying $1,000 for the stock. Risk to the downside being $1,000 versus $50. Worst case scenario, depending on when you get in. I also looked at potentially doing the 1,100, 1,300. That was a premium neutral, so I could still participate to the upside if I chose to go that route. But having said that, again, he said $300 potentially just out of China. That would put me up 30% right at that 1,300 target by January. Of course, that would be fantastic. And obviously his bull scenario at 1,500, maybe that's a couple years down the road, but we'll see plenty of time for this trade to play out.
Okay, so because you're selling the Jan calls further out, you're going to get capped out here, and Tesla then. If you're looking at this, you want to gain. You don't want a big one. You don't want this thing to go vertical at this point. How do you manage the trade, Joe, based on how quickly the stock moves?
Yeah, certainly if I'm more bullish, I would say just go ahead and buy that call, but then my risk is going to be $150 rather than $50 because that 1,000 call is so expensive. So that's why I sold that Jan call. It gets me a point where if I said I can make $250 in half a year, 25%, that's good enough for me. Maybe there are other people that look at Amazon and want to make more than that, but as an options trader, I just look at maximizing my probabilities and saying, what's the least to risk to make a good amount. And this is where I develop the trade that way.
Okay, and always a good reminder that Tesla, there's tons of the options market is very, very deep on the company as usual, and you get pretty good value for selling a strike that is still pretty far out of the money. I think that's what really distinguishes it, right? A lot of stocks, like we were talking with Tom earlier, on some of these energy companies, with low options, depth, you don't really get much out of selling anything. For Tesla, you actually are getting a pretty big, offsetting factor by selling that call.
Yeah, it just shows there's interest to the upside. People are still willing to pay $100+ for the stock to be up 30% in 6 months. For me, I'm fine to sell that. I would buy the at the money, sell that one, and see how we go.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, Joe Tigay, joining us from Equity Armor Investments. Thanks for the Tesla trade. Joe, getting bullish here on Elon's baby. I think it is. I think you like SpaceX too, but that's the publicly traded one.